Hey there everyone, welcome back to another collection video, and I'm just going to show off my PSP collection because PSP is awesome. PSP has tons of games, tons of stuff to play, and I still keep finding more stuff to play on the PSP, so um, I guess we'll just get right into it because there's a ton of stuff here and this video is going to be really long. So yeah, I'll try and go as quick as I can without just saying the name and going to the next game. But anyway, we'll start off here. We've got, first, this is Vampire Chronicle. It's, you know, uh, Darkstalkers collection in English. So Vampire Chronicles is essentially what is it? It's like a mix almost between Vampire Savior and Vampire Hunter. I think they just take some of the characters that were missing and add them back in, and then they add the tower mode. I think that's the only differences. I'm not sure exactly what the differences are, but this was actually one of the first games I got for the PSP. There's a couple more in here that I bought, like, when I got my PSP the first time, I got a couple of games, like 3 or 4, and this was one of them. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of this series, Vampire Savior, or Darkstalkers, we'll say, since we're speaking in English. But Darkstalker series, I'm a huge fan. I used to play it in the arcade a lot when it first came out, and since then, I guess, had all the versions on the Saturn. Still do, actually, but whatever. So, we'll move on to the next game. This is Goku Makai Murakai, which is it's either Ghosts and Goblins or Ghouls and Ghosts, and I'm not sure which one in English. Ghouls and Ghosts I'm going to go with, but it's probably Ghosts and Goblins. But anyway, this one wasn't released outside of Japan. The version of this that came out in the US is Ultimate Ghouls and Ghosts, I want to say, and it's not this version. This is like a version they made after that version, so Ultimate is in here, but there's this whole separate version that makes the game, kind of reverts the game to the old style, so it actually plays more like Super Ghouls and Ghosts or something like that, or any of the earlier games, because it takes away the kind of Metroidvania elements where you have to kind of collect things. You start off immediately with a double jump in this, and it plays just like an old school kind of Ghouls and Ghosts game. And it's better for it, actually. I prefer the Kai version, which is the kind of modified version, the revision, to the original Ultimate. And I played both. They're both on here, as I said. You can actually select them in the beginning. There's a select screen. But obviously the revision is more close to the original game and is therefore better. But we'll continue on. We've got Boku to Watashi no Katamari and Katamari Damashi. So this is well, I just threw it. Whatever the English title for this is, I have no idea. Katamari something or other. We Love Katamari. No, that's maybe on the PS2. I don't know what it is in English, but Me and My Katamari, maybe that's what it is. That's like my translation of the title in my head. But I'm not sure if that's the English title, but whatever. Katamari Damashi. This is a really good game, actually. The series is really great, and the PSP one is good, but short. It's not like... And it's a little hard to control in comparison to, obviously, a dual-stick controller. But it's still good. It's still worth playing if you like the series. Even if you haven't played it before, this is probably a good game to start with. Even, except for the controls. I mean, it's not too punishing, and it's, relatively easy to get through. Good game, though. Next we've got Sid Meier's Pirates. This is a game that's been ported to damn near everything. It's the first time I played this game was actually on the Sega Genesis, and it was out before that on PCs and Mac, but I never played it on there first. I mean, later in life I did, but this is like a kind of a remake version of the old school version of the game. So there is, it's got simulation elements here. It's essentially a pirate simulator with sword fighting, like action-based sword fighting. that's about it. It's a pretty good game. It's fun. It's got a lot of stuff to do, and it's kind of a classic. So if you don't have it somewhere else, it's fun on the PSP or anywhere else you can buy it, which is everywhere else. Um, Continuing on, we've got Dungeon Explorer. I don't know the English title for this. I'm not sure. I just don't remember. Um, it might something. I'm not sure what the English title will be. I think it's not similar to the Japanese title because looking at this, it doesn't sound familiar. But whatever, Dungeon Explorer this is kind of a continuation of the old Dungeon Explorer series, which is on the TurboGrafx and PC Engine, and also on the Sega CD, right? I think. But this game isn't the same kind of playstyle. It doesn't play like a gauntlet game. Essentially, it plays more like a Diablo type of game, and it's kind of fun, but not like so fun that it really grabbed my attention. Like I never finished this game. I played it for a couple hours, and I just thought like, well, it's kind of mediocre. I'll probably not play anymore. And that's what I did. So I haven't actually beaten Dungeon Explorer, but you know, it's all right. If you like a kind of Diablo kind of game, it's probably all right. This is next one is Classic Dungeon. This is an NIS game. I didn't like this game actually. This was a game where it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It didn't play like I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be more like a, I don't know, like an East game or something like that, and it ended up being this kind of slow-moving, not exactly fun kind of old-style dungeon crawler, and it just wasn't for me. I think that I like old-style dungeon crawlers, but not this type of old-style dungeon crawler, and like there are types I don't like, and this just happened to be one of them. So it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, so I didn't enjoy it. So I didn't actually play it all that much. Again, like Dungeon Explorer, I put a few hours into it, and I just thought, like, man, this game is not going to get me to like it, no matter what it does. But yeah. So next we've got Power Stone Portable here. I believe this has Power Stone 1 and 2. It's like Power Stone Collection, maybe, in the US. But Power Stone, good series on the Dreamcast. I had these originally on the Dreamcast, but they're still in the US. So I have the Power Stone PSP collection, but it's kind of useless because Power Stone is much more of a multiplayer game for it to be fun. And I don't really know anybody who has Power Stone Portable who is also local. So it's kind of alright to have to like play for a little while, but it's more of something you want to play with other people. This what is the name of this? No, it's not Rent-A-Hero. ZHP, this is in English. Zettai Hiro, it's project in English. This is what the ZHP is, but this is Zettai Hiro Kaizo Kakume. And this is another NIS game. It's a roguelike, and it's a pretty good one. It's kind of like this goofy hero story. It's pretty good though. As a roguelike, it's fun. It's not the easy. I mean, it's not the hardest roguelike. It's actually like a light roguelike because you kind of level up even when you die. Like there's a kind of overall level as opposed to just going back to zero and having to start over like a normal roguelike. So it does make it a little easier on you, even if you aren't like hugely into roguelikes. So, but the story is good, and there's kind of interesting multiple endings that happen, and it's all right. It's a pretty good game. The kind of spiritual successor was the God and Fate Paradox. I don't remember what the name of that was in English, but continuing on, we've got Conception. This is the first Conception game. The second one is on the Vita. Obviously, that came out in North America. This one is the first one. Didn't come out in North America. It was all right. I found it to be like kind of middling, a little above mediocre, and I was like, well, if a second one comes out, I'll buy it, and it'll hopefully fix some of the issues I had with this one. And it didn't really. It's still kind of mediocre, but this is also uh, similar. If you like the second one, you'll probably like this one because they're pretty similar. Except this one actually has more girls than the second game. It actually has almost twice as many, so you have a bit more options. But it has less character classes in the end. So next we've got Seventh Dragon 2020. This game I really liked a lot more than I even thought I was gonna like it. I thought I would enjoy it, but it's the third-person dungeon crawler. It's pretty stylish, pretty nice looking. It's got cool kind of dungeon designs. It's got a lot of good music to it. It's got a really nice style. I really like this game. Seventh Dragon 2020 was like pretty awesome, actually. I was really excited for that. Excited enough to, after playing it, go out and buy Seventh Dragon 2022. And this is kind of like, it's a sequel, but, it's kind of a lazy sequel in that it does reuse some of the dungeons a bit. But it does add a bunch of new cool-looking dungeons, adds some extra character classes, has good music again, does a lot of cool stuff. So I wasn't at all upset with them reusing the dungeons. It makes sense in the story. But it's pretty good. I really enjoyed both of these games, Seventh Dragon 2020 and 2022. I hope they come out with another one in the series, hopefully on the Vita. Continuing on, we've got R-Type Command. R-Type Command, it's fun, but there are some, like, issues with it. Like, I mean, I understand why, but you can't turn your ships. That doesn't make sense to me. That's the kind of worst part of it. Beyond that, though, it's also got a lot of missions. 50 in total, I think. And they take a long time. So this game is pretty long. And, I mean, halfway through the game, you switch sides. You kind of like switch perspectives from the kind of normal ships to the Baido Empire. That's pretty cool. But yeah, this game, it's not like my favorite kind of strategy RPG type game. It's not really an RPG. It's just more like a straight up battle simulation, which is cool. I like those kind of games a lot, actually. This one doesn't quite make it above into the kind of upper tier. Kind of ends up being middling because of a few issues. There is a second one that I don't have that's ridiculously expensive to find, and I haven't found a copy, which is also bad, but like every time it comes up, it's always like $150 or something. But I've had times where I've got $150, I could totally go buy it, and then I go look for it and I can't find it. So it's the kind of thing where eventually those two things will match up and I'll get the sequel to R-Type Command, but for now, I'm not gonna do it. Let's see. Oh man, I forgot how to read this. Yoshitsune, maybe? But this is a kind of Yoshimune, I think it is, maybe? I don't remember. This is a pachinko simulator, and I thought I tried it out to play it. I've never played a pachinko simulator, and I thought, well, maybe it's fun. There's a reason they make so many, and they sell relatively well. I don't understand. I played it for a little while, and I thought, there's literally a machine there in the game, and you just you can zoom in and zoom out and pull a lever and twist a knob, and it plays, but I don't understand the draw of that. I guess I'm not a pachinko guy. Next we've got Ore no Shikabane o Koete Yuke. This game is awesome. One of my favorites on the PSP, actually. One of the most underrated RPGs I can think of. Sequel just came out, coming out soon in North America and Europe. And I would definitely recommend getting this game and that game. This one, it's originally, this is essentially like a port of the PSP game. Now of the PS1 game, So this is just the port, really, but it's still good. The PS1 version looks good. The PSP version looks good. This game is spectacular. I really enjoyed this game. So, yeah, check this one out if you get a chance. Let's see. Lord of Arcana. Lord of Arcana is kind of Square Enix. Square Enix made this kind of like Monster Hunter type of game, and this is it. And it's pretty bad, actually. I tried getting into it. Like, I had somebody gave me this game because they hated it so much, which is funny. But, you know, they were like, it's not very good, but I'll give it to you because I just want it away from me. And I thought, oh, that's cool. I'll take it. And it's pretty bad. It's not that fun. I played it for a couple hours, and I thought, like, man, I totally understand why that person didn't want this game. It's just not fun. That's all I can say. Maybe it's fun if you play with multiple people. I did not, but it wasn't fun for what I was doing, I guess. So, let's see. Next, we've got Ken to Maho to Gakuen Mono. This is Class of Heroes in the US, and this one is alright. It's pretty much a wizardry game. Pretty much in the sense that this company who developed this game, Zero Div, is essentially stole the wizardry engine. They were originally doing wizardry games, and when somebody else was doing the license, they still had the engine, and they just used it in this game, and they got sued, and they had to stop using the engine. So you'll see, like, Cloud of Heroes 2 is a lot worse than this one because they had to, like, make up their own engine after that, and it obviously showed. This is an alright game. It's for a first-person dungeon crawler, it's actually pretty mediocre. It's I don't know, the choices they made for the dungeons were poor, I think. They're kind of randomized, which is weird. So, like, you'll go in a dungeon and map it, and then you'll go out and you'll go back in, and it's a totally different dungeon. I don't know. It's and then, like, weirder than that, though, is that those dungeons cycle. So you can go to a whole other place in the world and find that a dungeon you mapped earlier is there. I don't know, it's kind of just weird. So you'll go through and that'll happen. But here is next Kento Mahodo Gakuen Mono Final. This is, I think, fourth game in the series, maybe the fourth game. And this is the last one that was a dungeon crawler, a first-person dungeon crawler at least. And I played the second one and the third one, but on the PS3, and the second one is bad, and the third one is, like, also not so great. But the fourth one ended up being pretty good, actually. There's so many character classes, like 40 or so, and they're all these weird character classes, like Puppeteer and stuff. But it's actually pretty good. It actually managed to be my favorite in the series. Because of the character classes, because of they got rid of that random dungeon thing. And that's not in all of the games, but it's, the first one, that was pretty bad. But I'm glad it's not in this one. They had a ton of like, dungeons, and, the bosses were reasonably challenging, so it ended up being probably my favorite in the series. So I can't really complain about it. There's also a 3DS version of this called something else. Maybe it's Kendo Maho to Gakuen Mono 3D. That's probably what it is, actually. Anyway, those games are alright. Obviously, the fourth one is the best. Let's see. Next, we've got Great Battle Full Blast. And this is a crossover game between Gundam, Ultraman, and Kamen Rider. And it's kind of a side-scrolling, platforming beat-em-up. So it's not on planes, though. So you just kind of run through a 2D... It's like a 2D beat-em-up. You just run through and jump through stages. There's racing... Not racing, but motorcycle stages for Kamen Rider. Different types of enemies are weak against the different types of characters. So some are weak against Kamen Riders, some are weak against Ultraman, some are weak against Gundam. And you can kind of hot swap them in the stages, so it's pretty fun. But it's really short, and it's a couple hours you can beat it. It's not that long. The reason I actually got this was because I wanted a physical copy of this game right here, um, Battle Dodgeball 3. And Battle Dodgeball it's actually like was originally a Super Famicom game, and Battle Dodgeball 3, they like remade it kind of they made a new sequel in the same 16-bit format as the Super Famicom games, and it was released only in this special edition, so you could only get it that way. So it's kind of one of the rarer PSP games in Japan, but yeah, eventually they released it on PSN also. So if you're interested and you don't want to get this box set, you can download it on PSN from the Japanese store, obviously. But it is a battle dodgeball game, and I'm a huge fan of those kind of dodgeball games, fighting dodgeball. So I had to get it. So let me grab another stack of stuff here. 20 minutes in, that's not so bad. We're probably about maybe a quarter of the way done. Let's see. Next we've got Shining Hearts. I talked about this recently. Shining Hearts is in the Shining series, and it's slow-paced, kind of atelier, kind of collecting things to make things kind of game. You know what I mean? Like, you have to go out and collect ingredients to bake various types of bread. That's what this game is about. It's a lot of bread baking and fighting things to get ingredients, and there's kind of a story. Eventually the story becomes something, but not until the end, so it's very slow paced. Next we've got Shining Blades, the kind of sequel to Shining Hearts. This plays a lot like Valkyria Chronicles, and it's good. It's probably my favorite of the Shining games on the PSP. It's got a lot of action. It's got a lot of characters from previous games. It's fun. Good stuff. And the last one is Shining Arc. This one was a little disappointing after Shining Blades because, it didn't quite have the same battle system. It had kind of annoying characters. So it was kind of a step down from Shining Blade. It was fun. It was still fun, but not as good. So it was a little disappointing. I played those three consecutively, these three in the Shining series, so like I'm kind of shininged out at the moment, but I probably will get Shining Resonance when it comes out, so I'll probably put up a video about that. Next we've got, this is Elminage Ibun, Ame no Miha Hashira, and this is a first-person dungeon crawler. I got this specifically because the scenario was written by one of my kind of favorite Japanese scenario writer, game planner type people. And yeah, the story is good for this game. It's not incredibly difficult. It kind of plays like my first dungeon crawler almost. It's pretty easy until, like, the only boss in the game that feels like an Elminage boss, like an Elminage Gothic boss anyway, is the last boss. Everything else was really easy. So, it kind of was weak on that point. They're remaking this for the 3DS, apparently. It'll be coming out this fall. I probably won't buy it since I already beat the PSP one. But, it was alright. It's not the best dungeon crawler, but not the worst either. Let's see. This is... what is it? Onori no Shinzuru Michi o Yuke. There we go. This is a puzzle game made by From Software. Published by From Software, at least. And it's got this kind of... You're this kind of ninja who runs through these mazes, and you have a shadow ninja that will follow you. So what happens is, like, you'll run through once, and the next time you run through, that shadow of the first playthrough will be running through the stage also. So what you'll need to do is, like, move your ninjas in various ways to, like, open up areas of the stage so your future self can go through. So, like, you'll have to hit a switch and change some areas of the stage, and then, like, move another character through, and then maybe there'll be another switch over there, so you'll have to, like, hit a switch there, so you'll have to combine it with the other ones. It's pretty cool kind of puzzle game, and I enjoyed it. It's pretty short though. You can beat it pretty quickly as long as you don't get stuck on some of the more annoying stages. But yeah, it's pretty good. I enjoyed this actually a lot. Continuing on, we've got Phantom Brave. This is the Phantom Brave port to the PSP. It's pretty good, actually. I liked the Phantom Brave battle system. It's a little different from Disgaea. It uses rings instead of, like, kind of a square area to walk through. Like, I mean, a grid pattern, I guess. Have the recent Disgaea pattern games been doing that? I don't even remember. Whatever. It doesn't matter. This game it's different, though. You have to, you know, the main character here, this girl, and this guy is the Phantom that talks to her, and she's kind of ostracized because she can talk to the Phantoms, but yeah, she has this ability to talk to Phantoms, and it's kind of an interesting story, but, you know, I don't know, it's a goofy story, too, so it's an NIS game, you kind of expect that, but this is a pretty good game, actually. I enjoyed this on the PSP, and I'm glad I got it here. There's also an extra part in this story, like a different kind of thing going on, like a side story you can play also. Continuing on, we've got Kurohyo. This is Ryuga Gotoku Shinsho, which is like the new chapter. This is a Yakuza spin-off series, I guess. It's awesome. I really liked this game. I actually enjoy the fighting in this game more than the main series, because this one is based on fighting. The character is a kind of underground street fighter or something. He becomes one in the game. And he has to learn all these kind of different fighting styles. So you can eventually learn all these crazy fighting styles, and he'll do like all these different moves. And you can eventually you'll be able to mix and match them, so you can create your own like special fighting style, and it's really cool. Actually, I really enjoyed this. The story is good. The kind of transition to the PSP from, you know, PS2 PS3 is actually really quite good. They managed to give it an art style that's very distinctive. It's a really good series. I really enjoyed this. Like, one of the reasons I really wanted a PSP in the first place was to play these games. Speaking of that, we've got Kurohyo 2. This is Ryuga Gotoku Ashura-hen, which is like part of the kind of story, so I won't really talk about it, but Ashura is this kind of gang that you have to fight, so they make you come out of your fighting retirement or whatever to come fight them. And it's good. You get to go to different places this time, much like the original series of Yakuza. You can the first game is centered entirely in Tokyo, and this one is the second one, so you can go to Tokyo and Osaka, and you kind of go back and forth in this game between those two places, doing the same kinds of things, fighting and fighting. It's a lot of fun, actually. This game is Monhan Niki Airu Mura. This is made by From Software. You can see it's their normal From Software style, so it's bright and colorful. No, actually, this is kind of like Animal Crossing, but with the cats from Monster Hunter. And that's what it is, essentially. This is probably the Monster Hunter game I put the most amount of time into, which is kind of embarrassing, but it's actually pretty fun. I didn't put a ton of time into it. Not to say like I put a huge amount of time into Monster Hunter either, but this game was actually pretty fun. I had a lot of time, a lot of fun playing it. You can do other things like you do mining and hunting and other types of things, which is fun. So you know, you get a little bit of more out of, at least I get a little bit more out of it than I did Animal Crossing, even though it doesn't quite have that same level of quality, I guess. It's still a bit more interesting for me. Next we've got Akiba Strip. This is one of those kind of wacky games where another game that you guys are getting a sequel to that you didn't get the original, but essentially it's like a stripping game. So you have to, when you fight enemies, you're stripping their clothes off. They're vampires, so when the sun hits them, they die. So you have to take their clothes off. It's the story reason anyway. It's kind of like a pervy otaku game though, and like I say that because it's like all the characters are otaku. It takes place in Akihabara, and there's all these like Akihabara references and actual places. So it's meant for that kind of person as a kind of jab, self-deprecating jab at the kind of Akiba people. But whatever, it's fun. And next we've got Monster Hunter Portable 2G. This is the only Monster Hunter game I've ever played. I'm not a huge fan. I've been thinking about playing more because the like AGP chat people are into Monster Hunter lately, and it's so cheap that like I could probably join in, but I don't know. I'm kind of resisting still. I played this for, I don't even know, 10 hours maybe, and I just couldn't get into it. I thought it was like alright, but not like crazy I want to play it all the time. And I've played other types of games in this kind of hunting genre, but Monster Hunter doesn't really kind of match up to others for me, so I haven't really gone back to it. We've got SNK Arcade Classics Volume 1, and Volume 1 is got a lot of games that aren't fighting games, I guess. Well, it doesn't have a lot of fighting games, but it has like Shock Troopers and Metal Slug and Magician Lord and Baseball Stars 2 and stuff like that. So the reason I got this was another one of the first games I got. It was really cheap, so I got it, but I'm actually a big fan of Magician Lord. I remember playing that in the arcade a ton, so I really wanted it again. So I got that. There's like Samurai Showdown and stuff on here too, so it's not a bad collection. It's actually a pretty good collection. And Metal Slug, so you can't go wrong. Let's see. I'm trying to... Okay, another pile. Let's do it. Got some more hunting games here. Let's see. We've got God Eater. God Eater, I didn't super enjoy God Eater, but I probably played it more than I played Monster Hunter. Only because I had somebody to play with. It was more fun to play with another person. But this is God Eater. You guys didn't get this game. You got God Eater Burst, which is like the kind of expansion. God Eater, the original, has like a really small selection of monsters to fight. So you end up fighting the same like 6 monsters over and over and over and over, no matter what stage you're on, and there's just different combinations of them. So it got pretty boring after a while. And playing with another person, it was alright, but when I was like playing by myself, I was just like, man, I've fought this monster like 30 times already. I'm done. I can't play this anymore. So I stopped, and I haven't gone back since. So that was God Eater. This is Hototo Gisu. This was I think a Famicom game originally. This is kind of a card battle game, but this was another game that was given to me by the same person who didn't want Lord of Arcana, and she was just like, yeah, I don't know how to play this, you can take it. I was like, oh, okay. So I took it, and I don't know how to play it really either. I kind of like, I went through it and read the tutorial and did all that, but it's kind of, I don't know, obtuse, I think. I probably should go back to it because I actually do like card battle games, and it is another IREM game, so that's always exciting. But yeah, I don't know. Eventually, I'll probably go back to it actually. But it seems like another kind of game where it seems more fun if you have more people to play with. Let's see. Next, we got Tokyo Monoharashi, and this is an Atlas game that is a dungeon crawler in a high school with people fighting demons. It's kind of that thing. It sounds like it's going to be a Persona type game, but it's more visual novel and kind of weird actiony battles in the dungeons. So, I mean, it's turn-based, but action turn-based. It's kind of weird to explain, but I played this for I don't know, a couple hours, and I thought like it just wasn't clicking with me. I just wasn't enjoying it like I thought I was going to. And it did have a. I mean, I kind of liked the characters from the start, but the dungeon crawling was so slow. Like, it was like slow paced and had this weird platforming mechanic, and the battles were like not fun. I don't know how to explain it. The story was actually, the visual novel parts and story parts were actually interesting. It's just the dungeon crawling was not, so I kind of stopped playing it. Let's see, we've got Prinny. This is Orega Shujinko de Inska. That's like, I don't know what this is called in English. Is it okay if I'm the hero or something, maybe? Something like that. But yeah, this is a 2D platformer. And again, I didn't put a ton of time into this, couple hours. And it was, I don't know, I just don't like platformers that much. And this one wasn't grabbing me. I know a lot of people like this game, and it is a challenging game. I didn't like quit out of rage or anything. I just quit because like I wasn't really enjoying it. And I don't remember how many stages I got through. I mean, I fought a couple of bosses and continued on, but I just stopped playing and I was like, no more pretty for me. Next we've got Zettai Zetsume Toshi 3. This is, I guess, like in the Disaster Report Raw Danger series. What's their names in the US? I don't know. Zettai Zetsume Toshi 3. That's what it is. And this is a kind of disaster survival game. And I've talked about this on my channel before, but it's pretty good stuff. I enjoyed it. It's not that long, maybe 8 hours to beat. Maybe less, I don't remember. But good stuff. This series has kind of gone another IREM game. Since IREM stopped making games, there no more sequels. But yeah, it was alright. Next we've got Patapon. And this is a kind of... it's an interesting game, but another one that didn't really click with me. I know a lot of people were talking about this like it was awesome, and I thought like, oh, it sounds good. I'll totally pick it up. And it's a kind of rhythm-based, I don't know, RTS almost, like a 2D RTS that's rhythm-based. So like all your attacks and movements are done by hitting the buttons in a certain rhythm, and then you have to, you know, if you mess up, your movement or your attack will be ruined. So it's the kind of thing where like it's probably fun if you like rhythm games, but I'm not like a huge rhythm game fan. The art style is cool though. I really liked how it looked, and I liked the general idea of it. I just didn't enjoy the gameplay all that much. So next we've got Disgaea. Disgaea is awesome. No, you guys know Disgaea. I don't need me to tell you about it. This is the PSP version. It's pretty good. Good stuff. What is it called? Afternoon of Darkness. This is actually probably a US copy. Yeah. I got Disgaea 2 also is a US copy for me. Maybe. This is... Actually, it's got Peggy info on it, so it's probably a European copy. But... whatever, it's fun. This one is actually not as good as Persona Disgaea 1. I didn't enjoy the characters that much, but they were alright. It wasn't horrible. I liked some of the side stuff. I liked the kind of I don't know what the Rainbow Sentai guys. Those guys were good, and you could kind of use them in this. That was kind of cool. But both these games are good. I would recommend both of these if you like strategy RPGs. This guy is goofy and fun, so, you know, if that sounds alright to you, then you should pick it up. Next we've got Kingsfield Additional 2. I don't have Kingsfield Additional 1, I just never found it, but I started playing Kingsfield Additional 1, Additional 2, and I found that it doesn't play like Kingsfield. That's first and foremost, it doesn't play like Kingsfield, so it wasn't what I wanted to play. So I played it at the time, and I thought like, oh, it's going to be like a Kingsfield game ported to the PSP in the same style, but it's not really. It's kind of a different thing altogether, and I wasn't really enjoying it. So I probably should go back to it, though. It's not that it was bad, it was just that it wasn't what I was expecting, so I was kind of put off. Next, we've got Gungnir. Gungnir is a Sting RPG in the, what is that? Heaven something? Heaven's Gate? That's the cult. Is that correct, though? I don't remember. Um, Whatever. It's part of that series with, Knights in the Nightmare and stuff like that. But Gungnir ended up being really easy and really short. Like, I felt like I beat this game in 2 days or something. Like, it just like blew right through it, and it was not hard. And the battle system was not all that fun. I didn't find myself. I was kind of disappointed with this, but it's not to say that it's a bad game. It just was like totally l- lower on in all points than I was expecting it to be. So I kind of didn't have a ton of fun with it. Even though, I did beat it and I did play through the whole thing. Again, I have a video talking about it on the channel somewhere. Next, we've got Tactics Ogres. I'm trying to think of what the English name for it is. I just don't know. I'm not even going to try. But, yeah, Tactics Ogre on the PSP. This is a good game. Probably the best strategy RPG on the PSP. It's really good. I really enjoy the Tactics Ogre games, the Ogre battle games, and this is probably the best one, really. The PSP one specifically, I think, like, they changed it around a bit. It makes it a little bit more fun for me. So, Tactics Ogre on the PSP, good stuff. We got also Final Fantasy Tactics. So yeah, I just said Tactics Ogre was probably the best um, strategy RPG on the PSP. I'd stand by that. It's probably I like it more than Final Fantasy Tactics, but Final Fantasy Tactics is still a great game. It's great when I played it on the PS1. Great when I played it on the PSP. No complaints about Final Fantasy Tactics. You should play this too. You should play both of those. If you liked one, you'll probably like the other because they're pretty similar. Next, we've got Lord of the Rings Tactics. This is not quite as good a strategy RPG. It's really simple, so it doesn't really involve a ton of strategy for the most part. A lot of the times, like, the battles turn into like these kind of caveman battles where it's just like hit for hit until somebody dies, and it's hard to be tactical sometimes because there's not enough characters on the screen, or they're positioned too far apart to, like, team up on people and make just, like, strategic attacks. And it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't good either. It was very, very mediocre. But it does have Lord of the Rings movie clips in between the scenes, and it kind of goes through the story of the game by a bit. So, the story of the movie, I mean, not of the game. But it's not horrible. I wouldn't recommend it if you're, like, looking for a good strategy RPG. But if you're just like, well, I like Lord of the Rings and I kind of like strategy RPGs, maybe I'll enjoy it. You might. I like both of those things, and I just thought it was mediocre, though. Let's see. Next, we've got All Kamen Rider Generation 2. And this game was kind of fun, actually. I really enjoyed this game a lot more than I was expecting to, but it's got, like, a ton of Kamen Riders, and it's kind of a action beat 'em up with motorcycle sections. That's about it. This is also on the DS, but I would suggest the PSP version. Um, Good stuff here. I'm not like a huge Kamen Rider fan or anything, but I have a lot of Kamen Rider games. The games tend to be fun in a kind of simple way, and the Kamen Riders themselves are usually, like, pretty cool designs. But I don't watch the shows or anything, so it's the kind of thing where I don't know anything about them. I just think, like, oh, that guy looks cool, so I'll use him. Uh, the same goes for this series, actually. This is Ultraman All-Star Chronicle, and this is an Ultraman strategy RPG, but it ends up being not all that great. Uh, it could have been good, but it seems like it was made with, like, a really low budget and pretty shoddily, actually. The stages are all pretty similar, and the everything on the stages look like they're props placed with an editor. It's just, like, not a really it's not a really good looking game, and it's not a very good playing game either because the maps are pretty small. So, I did, again, I did go through the whole game, but it wasn't really hard, and it wasn't really done great. So it ended up being pretty mediocre. Probably better than the Lord of the Rings game, but not by much. Let's see. Next we've got Persona. Persona 1 on the PSP. First-person dungeon crawler. First Persona game. I don't think I have to say much more. It's pretty awesome. You should get this. If you like first-person dungeon crawlers, you should get this one. If you like Persona, you should play this one. Even if you don't like first-person dungeon crawlers, well, you probably won't like this if you don't like first-person dungeon crawlers. But Persona is a good game. I would recommend it. Continuing on, we've got Persona 2 Tsumi, or Innocent Sin. This is the first part of Persona 2. This one, not a first-person dungeon crawler. It's a third-person dungeon crawler. Different kind of game system altogether. If you played Persona 3 and or 4 and then you played this, you would be like, "Where's my demon fusing?" There's none in this game. It's a totally different kind of game system. But Persona 2 has the best characters, I think, out of all the Persona games. I really like Persona 2's story and characters. It's probably my favorite in that aspect. It's probably my favorite in the Persona series. We've also got Persona 2 Batsu, which is Persona 2 Eternal Punishment. So these two kind of make up a single game. If you've played through it, you know why. But Persona 2 has mostly different characters, or that people who were kind of side characters in the first game show up as main characters in this game. And this has, I think, probably one of the best casts, I think. If you combine these two games, the character cast for these two games together, best Persona characters, best story too. Just because the characters are more relatable for me. They're more realistic for me too. They're not half of them aren't high school kids. They're like adults doing adult things. I kind of wish that they would make a Persona game that was more like 2 again. It's dark, people die, people have these horrible, kind of scars from their life. It's pretty, I don't know, it's a really good story overall, and I think, they should do that again in the Persona series. I guess Persona 5 is going to be in high school again, but Persona 6, they should make, Persona, but in a company or something. It could work the same way. You'd still have the time effect where you have to go to work. So, you could have different... There's lots of things, you could work it. You could make it work. So, I don't know. It would be better. I'd rather have adults, is what I'm saying. Next we have Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner. And this is a port of the first Devil Summoner on the Sega Saturn. And this is probably the best version. They've kind of rebalanced it to be not as horrible as not to say that the first game is horrible, but on the Sega Saturn version, there's some elements to it that make it so painfully slow. Demon negotiation is one of them, because every demon negotiation takes forever, and no matter what, it takes forever. Even if they're just going to run away, it takes too long. And this kind of remedies that, but not entirely. It makes it better. It's not good still, but it's still alright. So this is probably the best version of Devil Summoner, even though it's kind of mediocre. Next we've got Persona 3 Portable. Persona 3 Portable is really fun. I really like Persona 3. Probably more than Persona 4 even. Persona 3 Portable also kind of fixes that thing where you can't control the other characters, which is a really nice fix. So I would recommend Persona 3 Portable over FES on the PS2, solely for that reason, because it makes the battles more manageable. The downside is that the FES content is not in here, so, or FES or whatever you want to say for that. Technically, it's FES, but people seem to say FES, so I'll stick with that. Next, we got Silent Hill Origins. Silent Hill Origins was alright. It's not great, but I don't think it's as horrible as people make it out to be. It's short, and I like the kind of setting for it, but it's an alright Silent Hill game. It's probably on the lower end of the Silent Hill games though, but I wouldn't say it's terrible. So yeah, Silent Hill Origins, it was alright. And next we've got Silent Hill Shattered Memories. I played this on the Wii initially, so I haven't actually played the PSP version. So I bought it specifically because it was cheap, and I wanted to see the difference between the Wii and the PSP versions. The Wii version actually is pretty good, so probably I would recommend that one just because it's like nice to use the flashlight with the Wii controller. But yeah, I don't know. I actually really like Shattered Memories. It was if I were to make a horror game, it would probably be similar in kind of the way it works. I mean, I wouldn't have absolutely zero combat, but it would be like mostly you'd be running away. So this makes a lot more sense as a kind of Silent Hill game because, frankly, if I were in Silent Hill, I wouldn't be fighting shit. I'd be running all the time. So that's the kind of thing where like it kind of makes sense for a realistic person in this game. But again, I wouldn't. That's not to say I wouldn't shy away from hitting someone with a sledgehammer and then running away. But for the most part, I kind of understand the sentiment of making it the way it is. Next, we got Metal Gear Acid. I haven't played this yet, but it was kind of recommended to me. So, by the recommendation, it sounded like something I would enjoy, even though I'm not like a huge Metal Gear fan. So, eventually I'll get around to this. I still have a couple of games I haven't played in my PSP library here, but all the ones I've shown so far are games I've already played. Growlancer. Growlancer is a good series. I have a collection of Growlancer games, 1, 2, 3 in a box on the PS2. So I played this before, but I figured I was thinking recently I wanted to play it again, so I just figured I'll just get the PSP version. It's probably more likely that I'll play it on the PSP than on the PS2 anyway, so Growlancer. Next we've got, this is Jewel Summoner, another one I haven't got to yet. I only got this recently, like a month or so ago, and this is like kind of made by one of the original people who worked on Shin Megami Tensei, so it's kind of similar in some aspects, so from what I've heard at least. So I'm interested in playing it, but it doesn't have like a real high ratings or anything, so it might not be a great game. But I really did want to check it out, so I got this. Next we've got Gachitora Abarenbo Kyoshi in High School. I haven't played this one yet either. These ones are all my recent ones, I guess, like recent pickups, which means we're coming towards the end. Even this video is an hour now. But yeah, this is I don't even know how to explain it. It seems like mini games mixed with a kind of beat 'em up mixed with a visual novel. That's what it looks like, and that's kind of the description of it too. So eventually I only bought it because it sounded so bizarre, but yeah, I'll get around to that eventually. Jeanne d'Arc. This is strategy RPG everybody seems to love, which I bought in the same batch with the last two I showed, so I haven't played it yet. But everyone seems to love it, so I'm sure I will like it, but again, I'm not like a huge level 5 fan, so maybe I won't. Who knows? But it should be good. Everybody has this, I think. Everybody with a PSP is like, this is the game that made me like the PSP, so I don't know. Good stuff, though. Eventually I'll get around to it. Next, we've got, this is Shinwa Kaidan, Shin Mimi Fukuro. This is a visual novel, sort of. It's a horror thing, and this is based off a TV show called Shin Mimi Fukuro, and it's good. It's 50 short visual novels, essentially. It's like just short stories. So you can kind of go through them, and you have a quiz at the beginning to decide which story you're going to go to. It'll like ask you a question like, what are you more afraid of, or which sounds scarier to you, or something, or some other random question, which kind of food do you like, and it'll list a couple, and then you'll pick it, and it'll bring you to this story matching the question for some reason. So it's actually pretty interesting, though. Some of the stories, obviously there's 50 stories, so all of them aren't going to be winners, but some of them are really good, and some of them are straight from the show, and some of them are new, so it's pretty interesting. I really like this show, actually. If you haven't noticed, the intro to my videos is actually a edited version of the intro to this show. So here it is. We've got Nights in the Nightmare. This one much better than Gungnir, which I talked about earlier. Another Sting RPG in that same series. This one is a little crazier though. It's definitely not the same type of game, but that actually works for it. It's a pretty good game. I would recommend this over Gungnir any day. I haven't played the others in this series though. I haven't played Riviera or I can't remember the other ones right now. I'll probably remember it later. Anyway, we've got Dungeons and Dragons Tactics. This is another kind of tactical game that ends up being, not great, but not bad either. I like the kind of idea of it, and I like Dungeons and Dragons, and I like strategy RPGs, and it kind of still ended up being kind of mediocre. But, it's alright. I wouldn't really recommend it, but, it's still good. I mean, if you like D&D, and you think you want to play a strategy RPG in the D&D style, then go for it. I wouldn't dissuade you. I just wouldn't recommend it for people who aren't like D&D fans. Next we've got The Third Birthday. I only got this one recently in a trade with Crack Lotus, so I haven't played it yet. But I'm a huge fan of Parasite Eve, which is like, but I heard like this is nothing like those, so I put off buying it, and eventually I just got it in a trade. So now I'm, eventually I will play it, even though I hear it's gonna disappoint me. Continuing on, we've got Senjo no Valkyria 3. This is Valkyria Chronicles 3. I haven't played this yet. I have Valkyria Chronicles 2 in the other room, so I'm not gonna go get it, but I also have 2. It's in my PSP at the moment, so I'm currently playing that, along with some other things. But yeah, this and 2, I mentioned before that I hadn't ever played those because I didn't play them on the PSP, but I recently replayed the first game, and I thought like, man, I gotta play these other ones 2 and 3, so I bought them, and I'm playing them now, so good stuff. Next we've got Hayarigami. Hayarigami is made by Nippon Ichi or NIS, and it's a horror visual novel based on kind of like okay, if you know the concept of friend of a friend stories, it's like I can only think of the Japanese at the moment. It's Toshi Densetsu, which is oh man, it's not coming to me. But things like those kind of slasher stories about the people like making out in the car, and you hear the clicking, and then there's like a hook on the door handle, that kind of thing. It's stories like that, but the kind of Japanese version. So there's like this kind of fortune-telling story, or like a creepy grandmother who can run as fast as a car or something. There's stuff like that. It's all this weird kind of goofy things, and there's like a lot of different cases based on those kind of urban legends is what I was looking for. But urban legends where that are Japanese, and some of them have crossover. Like you'll recognize some of them, but yeah, essentially it's just like shorter kind of visual novel elements and different stories with the same characters, and then eventually the story kind of comes together. It's actually a pretty cool series. There is 2 and 3 on the PSP, but I haven't found copies yet. Um, it's apparently not easy to find. I looked around a bunch, but I've never seen them. There's a new one coming out in a week or two. Shin Hayarigami on the PS Vita. I'll be getting that, so I will talk about it eventually. This is White Knight Chronicles Dogma Wars. Again, this is a level 5 game, but I bought it because it was $3 new. And I thought, well, I've never played White Knight Chronicles, but it's new and $3. And hell, I'll just pick it up. And this was really recent. I don't even know if I showed this in a pickup video. But, so I haven't played this yet, but yeah. If anyone's played it, let me know. But, eventually I'll get around to it. Next we have Criminal Girls. Criminal Girls, I never beat. This is an NIS game, and it kind of made me feel creepy playing it, so I stopped. But it's actually not that bad of a game. It's got this like spanking element though that I wasn't like super excited about, and like it also prevented me from being able to play it outside of my house. So it's the kind of thing where like, I was thinking like maybe the reason I stopped was not because like I didn't want to finish it, because they announced the PS Vita version, and I thought like, well, I'll just get the Vita version and play it that way because there's extra content. And then I thought like, after I stopped, I just never went back to it, and I never got the Vita version. So I don't know if I'm going to go back to it. It does make me feel a little creepy playing it, to be honest. So who knows? Next we've got Matching Maker 3 plus, well, Cross Tosochu, which is like a run for money, which is a kind of show in Japan that I've never seen. But Matching Maker is Metropolis Mania in the US, I believe. That's what it was localized as. And it's the kind of game where it's not a good game, but it's something I really like. And I really like this series. I've probably talked about the 4th one on my channel pretty extensively at some point, because it's like one of the few games that I platinumed, not platinumed, but I got complete achievements on on the 360. It's something I put a lot of time into, and this is another one that I just put a bunch of time into building my poorly made cities. So yeah, it's good stuff. The kind of catch for this game is that the Matching Maker series is that there's real places, like real Japanese brands and locations in here. So you can like make your city with your real Japanese chain shops in it. So you can kind of make like a representation of your neighborhood or something. And that's pretty cool. Next we've got Valhalla Knights 1 and 2. I haven't beat either of these, but I played a bunch of them. They're like the kinds of things where they're all right, and I feel like it's kind of okay, but also at the same time it's not. I don't know how to explain that, but they're all right games, and I will eventually beat them. Actually, it's just the kind of thing where like they're not a high priority for me at the moment, because I've got a bunch of other stuff, and they're again not great, but it's the kind of thing where I want to finish it, but finding time and the drive to do that is not always there. Let's see. This is Shin Kenta Maho to Gakuen Mono. This is Toki no Gakuen. This is the first game in the kind of what's it called, Class of Heroes game series that's not a first-person dungeon crawler. This one ends up being a third-person dungeon crawler, and I haven't finished it yet, so I'm not going to really talk about it. I'll actually do an impressions video for this when I, finish it. But again, when that will be, I don't know. Grand Knight's History is a game made by the same people who made Dragon's Crown and Muramasa. That's Vanillaware, and yeah, this is. I would say it's probably not as good as either of those, but It's still alright. And I guess there's some kind of translation for it, maybe a patch or maybe a kind of walkthrough that you can get. So it's probably importable at least. You could probably play it if you felt the need. So, yeah. Next, we've got Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories. I like Grand Theft Auto, and, you know, I can't really complain. Grand Theft Auto is a good series. They put a lot of work into it. It shows, and I enjoy these kind of crime stories. Not all the time. I'm not like a huge sandbox game kind of guy, but, you know, if I want to play a sandbox game, you might as well play Grand Theft Auto because, you know, it doesn't really get much better than that. And lastly, we've got Derby Time. This is a kind of horse breeding simulator. I like these kind of simulators, so that's all. That's all really. I'm not going to go into Derby Time. That's the last game. This video is over an hour. That's pretty much it for my PSP collection, except for Valkyria Chronicles 2 and maybe one or two that are on loan to other people. But yeah, that should be it, pretty much. So I still have a big list of PSP games to buy, though, so I've probably got about 20 or so more before I'm essentially done with the PSP collecting. But yeah, it's a pretty big collection so far, and since they're not really making anything more, that might be it. But yeah, PSP collection, that's probably my longest video. But yeah, anyway, I'll catch you guys next time.